Hey kids, do you like professional wrestling? This week, an extra hour for SmackDown in the lazy river of wrestling criticism. Whatever we can come up with in there, I guess. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about promos when we get in there. It's that lazy. It's Saturday. We're doing it. And no Vader Club because life happens and Chris is uber busy today. So
Yeah, I
trying
am
to.
both moving and doing a gig this weekend. Like life the next couple of weeks is going to be a juggling act, let's say.
Yeah, we may have some guest shows. We may have some solo shows. We may just have Chris going solo. I may just make him do a solo show. No, but this is Shake Them Ropes. I am Jeff Hawkins. He is Chris Novembrino. It has been a week where I have been angry at wrestling fans because of their personal behavior online in terms of look, you can like whatever sources you like. I don't care if you like Voices of Wrestling. I don't care if you like Fightful. I don't care if you like Fight Game Media. I don't care if you like The Torch. I don't care if you like Vince Russo or any of the army of goober edge lords who try and do podcasts for 3 months and then quit because they're so toxic to the environment.
And they have nothing to say.
You don't have to go after people you don't like personally. And I've been watching this, and it's mostly people from Fightful, but there are a number of wrestling fans who, and I'm using this as a pejorative, not as a clinical, who are ill. If you have issues and you're taking care of them, more power to you. I'm not talking about you, okay?
No, but I've experienced some of these people firsthand. I will always remember one in particular on Twitter, truly unhinged.
Well, and this kind of bleeds into my thoughts here because in our first story, I'm going to ask you if you want to go down this road or not. There's been a report of what the AEW media rights deal is, so it's speculative, which means I'm going to give you the choice. We can wait to talk about it when it's signed, or we can talk about what the report is now, Chris.
Let's go. Let's talk about what the report is now. Why not? Let's
Okay,
do
cool.
super hot takes.
I will because I have a rather hot take on it. According to a report by Puck's John Oran, AEW's media rights deal is listed at around 170 million per year, a 3-year deal with a fourth option year. Oran's report was that AEW would air on TNT, TBS, and True TV twice a week. Now, if there are only 2 shows, Dynamite and Collision, and 3 stations listed, that would seem to indicate that True would get reruns or simulcast because Rampage is not part of the deal. True is being rebranded, of course, as a sports station from 8 to 11 p.m. each night. This would confirm with another source indicated to us this past week that Rampage would not be continued and that the third show, likely called AEW Shockwave, given AEW just filed for a trademark for that term, would be the show shopped around to Fox and likely others. Oran noted that AEW is pitching another package, quote-unquote, primarily to broadcast channels. That would mean networks which would be ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, Telemundo, Univision, CW, or Ion. It stated that there is no timetable for when that deal would be completed, half past never, or what terms they are asking for. Here's my hot take, Chris, and it's scorching hot. A AEW deal means 2 things. They get paid and they're on TV again for a few years. That's it. That's the list. And we have a lot of analysis out there that are the underpants gnomes that think that there is this magic bullet that AEW is going to fire to get. And when they say, ooh, they're shopping it to Fox. Oh, well, gee, they can start on Fox Sports 1 and then get ratings there. And then broadcast Fox will put it on there because, they got rid of SmackDown, blah, 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 blah. Now, look, when Fox got rid of SmackDown, they got rid of SmackDown and they cited the costs. And so everybody thinks, well, if AEW does a cheaper show, then surely Fox will want this wrestling product on their network platform. And I'm here to tell you, costs was a euphemism for we don't like your fan base. We don't want your kind of junk product on here. We really want football on here on Friday nights, but we haven't figured out a way to do that yet. And you didn't get the ratings that we wanted because they wanted Brock, they wanted Ronda, and they really wanted something that got 4.5 million people a week, like Tim Allen used to on his sitcom when he was on the downswing of being washed up on Last Man Standing.
Right. It's so weird the Last Man Standing was doing good numbers because it was such a derivative and bland ass show.
Look. There's a lot of middle America that loved Home Improvement,
No, I know. Right. It was trading. That's the thing. It was just
and they
trading
love
on
Tim
Home
Allen
Improvement.
because he's America's dad from the Santa Claus. That's what they think of him as. I'm not saying that's what he is, but that's what they think of him as, and he's non. His politics don't exactly comport to the usual Hollywood products, so there's a bit of an overreaction there as well. But it was 4.6 million in that dreadful show about the senior home that they pocketed it with. I want to say Betty White was on it too, but I think David Allen Greer was on it too. I had friends who worked on that. I can't remember the name of that dumb show, but that almost topped 3.5, 4 million a week.
Yeah, and you got to remember, I think, for Fox with SmackDown, even though things got better as the contract progressed,
Yes.
almost to the point of being able to salvage the deal, that first 2 years had to have been the source of much Sturm and Drang in the Fox boardrooms, watching a crappy WWE product that they had vastly overpaid for.
They vastly overpaid for it, which we brought up. The people within Fox Sports didn't want to promote it because they didn't want it tarnishing their brand. I mean, Joe Buck could not have had more contempt
Nausea.
for WWE when he's doing live reads. And you contrast this with what Universal Comcast does with they do WWE like little hits on the NFL, and they're kind of classy, to be honest with you. They're not bad. They're not great, but they don't make wrestling look dumb for the most part. And that's a low bar to clear, but I'm just talking to people and and watching people trash. Oh, they'll get on Fox. Don't be stupid. Blah blah. And they were insulting me.
But then, like, let's also do the other thing now and stop and talk about AEW's broad numeric performance over the last 36, 48 months. It has not been an upward trajectory.
No.
Even the biggest AEW stands in the world can't look at you and make a case that they're on an upward trajectory. Right now, this cope is centered around the notion that they could get on an upswing. So then the debate is, have they been in a holding pattern over the last 48 months, or have they been on a downward trajectory? And I would argue that despite live show performance, which is admirable, the Wembley Stadium show, for example, when we're talking about TV, which is the real discussion right now, AEW's TV numbers and AEW's television product have been a problem. What has been happening with AEW for the last 48 months as they're doing their pay-per-view cycle is they have pay-per-views that are oftentimes lovely. They have very, very good and strong shows that, in a lot of ways, make people forget about the middling to subpar television that we're subjected to week in, week out. But from an executive standpoint, that's all that matters. So they're looking at the numbers, they're looking at the product, the performance, that sort of thing. And then we get into this bigger question of AEW's B shows. AEW has yet to launch a B show without Phillip Brooks that has had any sort of import whatsoever. And that has had no sign of changing. Phil Brooks has been gone for the company for some time now, though you could be forgiven if you forgot about that every time you see Jack Perry with Scapegoat on his arm. But they need to prove that they can do a B show that can actually draw meaningful numbers. Because if you go to a Fox and you go, Rampage is cheaper than SmackDown, Fox is going to go, yeah, and it does 1/10 of the numbers of SmackDown. So is it, 5% the cost of SmackDown? How cheap are you making this show,
Yeah,
guys?
Fox isn't looking for value.
Right.
Broadcast networks aren't looking.
They're
Fox will
looking for impact. They
they will
need, yeah.
pay for a show that will get them, that will win the night on broadcast television and
Yeah,
get
they're
them a
not playing
certain number of
Moneyball.
people. Yeah,
It's not a Moneyball
yeah, they're not.
argument.
FX is looking for value. Fox Sports is looking for value. If you want to go that far, broadcast television will pay for things that people will watch. I mean, HBO, looked at empty pockets for Game of Thrones for that first season, and then it blew up, and then it's like, oh, well, here's the money truck, guys. What kind of things do you need to do on this show now? Kind of a thing. But there's 2 points. I want to bring up the cope again, because again, narrative is getting in the way of reality in many ways, because it's like, well, with this extra money that they're getting from this deal, they can pay to keep their stars or pay to bring in new ones. All right, who would that be on either side? Now, in news, they're in rumor and innuendo, Kevin Owens' contract is coming up soon, but there is nobody who's going to move AEW to the levels that people want it to be, to go up and get what will be emotionally resonating, satisfying for that fan base, which is to beat WWE's main roster shows in a week. Okay? Can we get there? There's nothing, and look, everybody says there's nothing wrong with being number 2, but everybody somehow have plans to be number 1. And that's not it. And the other part of the cope is, we don't necessarily know that increase in television revenue makes up for the contract, because from what I was told, or from what I discussed with my co-host on the Dynamite show, and this is a point that Paul Fontaine brought up, and it's very, very prescient, this may not cover the increases in contracts for the Elite, the money you paid for Mercedes Moné, and for the Rainmaker, and for Will Ospreay necessarily. They may still be breaking even on that front. And the numbers for live events aren't necessarily covering any other increases, as those are also declining in some ways. Grand Slam has around 5,000. It had 11,000 last year, Chris. I mean, this is... I appreciate people wanting to root for a side and people wanting to bring down the evil empire and things like that, but there has to be some reality in there.
I don't appreciate people.
Perfect, because I'm lying.
I'm gonna go the other direction on this. You know why? Because you're an effing wrestling fan. And that just means one less effing wrestling show to watch every week. You actually like WrestleMania. Yes. I'm speaking to you, hater guy. You actually enjoyed WrestleMania, and you have enjoyed WrestleMania. And what you want is not for WWE to go and die, but instead for WWE to be good. Maybe you really do want it to die, but then I'd beg the question, are you really a wrestling fan at that point? And if the same thing goes with AEW. If you really want this company to go belly up, what are you saying as a fan of wrestling? I want less people to have jobs. I want to see fewer people I like in interesting angles and that sort of thing. No, what people really want in the mature sort of position is, I want wrestling to be healthy, well-liked, well-attended, and frankly, especially from my perspective, something that I want to watch every week, especially if I have to do that.
It's the political thing where it's like, I want that team to suffer after losing an election, as opposed to, hey, we could have a very healthy type of relationship with everybody, in this business, etc. I mean, they were going nuts over the Pollock. I don't know if you got a chance to hear the Pollock and Thurston podcast, but they had a guest, and he basically said, with WWE being good, AEW is not really necessary, and everybody kind of viewed that as, what are you talking, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think he necessarily meant it that way. I think he meant it as, when you have the NFL, you don't necessarily need the XFL and the Arena League and the World League of American Football and all these other things. And it's like, it's true, like, sickos will watch any football you can give them and put in front of them. But you're never going to beat the quality of the major league of football, which is the NFL.
I think, maybe a better way of articulating this point is that like all wrestling consumers actually have a saturation point where they've had enough wrestling
Yeah.
every week. It's like, I like Sour Patch Kids too much. I like Sour Patch Kids too much, Jeff. But even with that, there is a point where I've had enough Sour Patch Kids. Even if I get a really good deal on a big bag of them, like you just reach this point where you've had enough, and everyone has that. So like if there's enough wrestling, if I get 2 hours of good wrestling, hell yeah, dude. I'm honestly, my itch is scratched.
Yeah.
It's only if I get kind of a lame ass Raw, then I'm kind of chasing the dragon for the rest of the week and hoping that there's going to be something else that's better that at least can kind of scratch my itch. Maybe there'll be something good on Dynamite. Maybe, NXT will have a good match or something cool will happen on SmackDown. But I think a lot of people, if the Monday Night Wrestling offering, whether that's Nitro or Raw or whatever it was, is good, you're good. Once a week, 2 hours, that's a good fixin'.
Yeah, I'm a little bit weird in that I never liked WWE all that much, so it's like if I could have gotten any territories on my hands, I would have watched 7 or 8 hours of wrestling a week if I could have like had like Mid South and Memphis and all those other things, but I couldn't. I had Crockett and I watched 6 hours of that a week because you had three syndicated shows and the 605 show to watch. I watched as much as I could, and yeah, there was an oversaturation point there because you started realizing, oh, okay, they're kind of doing the same promos on each show a little bit, and you kind of figured that all out too, and so it's like, yeah, no, I agree with you. WrestleVotes reported that starting in January, when Raw moves to Netflix, that SmackDown will become a 3-hour show.
No.
Oh, the key to that would be, given the nature of the competition, it would make no sense for WBD to air a wrestling show from 10 to 11 p.m. Friday nights if SmackDown will add a third hour. Those at WWE have only said that the runtime of both Raw and SmackDown starting in January are both open to discussions and nothing is final. So it's just a rumor. Please don't. SmackDown's actually, I think, at times stronger than Raw, and it's 2 hours. It's compact. Get in, get out, do your angles, and go. I liked it this week. I don't know if you had time to see any of it, but it was quite good, I thought.
Yeah, I haven't in as much in recent weeks, but
Yeah.
like generally speaking, I think 2 hours remains the ideal length for a wrestling show. And I really hate the notion that we would expand out SmackDown not to increase quality, but to instead just increase quantity so as to stifle and smother AEW, who, again, going back to this, the only show of theirs that does any sort of numbers is Dynamite. All these other shows are just complete non-factors.
I'll tell you those numbers in a bit. Man, that I don't have the exact numbers because
I haven't seen this week's, but they've been non-factors for
Well,
some
the
time
funny
now.
thing is about the overruns. It's like people are no longer watching the AEW overruns. They're just done with them. It's like, yeah, you burned everybody out. Saturday night's main event returns on NBC December 14th. I'd be interested to see those numbers. I am. Those guys. I mean, like even the main event when they played the primetime show with Hogan and Andre that one time got huge numbers for that time, or at least compared to now. I don't know what modern television is going to do to those ratings, but I'm interested in them. They're going to be taping it, I think, next month sometime.
I think a great idea for WWE is to have an angle that is tooled up for a 1 hour broadcast special thing like Saturday night's main event, where it's just a 1 hour show, commercials and everything, and we just build up to the match, and then we have the match. And the match is like 35 minutes. It's like a real full on, trying to go for stars sort of match with like legitimate build up and big fight feel. Just 1 hour focusing in on one match.
Yeah, something Cody bloodline related. Maybe
Gunther would be really great for one
Gunther
of
would
those.
be good too, but I think the guy to go with is your money guy, and that'd probably be the Cody versus Jacob Fatu. I think
Cody versus Gunther would be really good for one of these 1 hour setups
yeah,
too.
for like a second or third one, I would say.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting options, I think. But that's what a network type of show needs to be for like this is someone who has not watched wrestling in a long time, who used to like it, and you give them a very clean on ramp where they can start at the beginning of the show, understand who the two people are in this match, and we get to the main event. And it basically in 1 hour they have a wrestling experience, and if they like it, they might come back for some more.
Numbers. AEW Dynamite on September 18th finished second for the day. First in the time slot with 687,000 viewers and a .22, 18 to 49, and a .13 and 18 to 34. An advertised appearance of CM Punk led NXT to first place on their night, previous, 677,000 viewers, .21 and 18 to 49, and .13 and 18 to 34. Tied in 18 to 34. .01 off in the 18 or in the other demo, and 10,000 less viewers, and they're coming to CW, and one show heavily promoted that move, and the other show said, "Hey, our champion may not be at Grand Slam next week."
The issue with AEW, I think, is like twofold. It's not only the stars they have, the stars they don't sort of questions. It is the utilization of these stars. Like, I know that Bryan Danielson right now would be doing a bigger profile angle and more money and being more of a ratings draw on WWE television right now. Let's say he came back to WWE and his final run was at Cody, and we were building to like a Mania style match between Danielson and Cody. Yeah. One last Yeselmania. That would be a big dollar angle. And instead, we're doing will he or won't he with Grand Slam and pay-per-view appearances. And to your point, Phil Brooks continues to be a ratings needle mover.
Yes.
Just time and again. WWE, whenever they deploy him, gets big ratings out of him. And he was a big ratings mover for AEW as well. Do I think he'd be doing that for AEW at this point? No, obviously not. The friction and stuff sort of like belies the fact. But it's how AEW is using the talent they're getting that's just as much part of the ratings problem as the talent they have and the talent they don't.
Yes, it is a nostalgia company for the mid-aughts indie fan, and there aren't that many of them. Sorry to say that. Yeah.
Right. It really does sort of feel like a nostalgia company for 2008 and 2013.
Yes.
And that was not quite a boom period yet for wrestling. It was like kind of getting it. It was right before
a boom period for indies. It was a boom, like PWG got hot around like 2011, 2012, because it had, Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. and Ricochet and whatnot. And, ROH, everybody's tape trading those if they don't have access to the shows and things like that. And then you start getting that fan base that starts going, well, we don't want the Cody Rhodes in this company. We don't want the Phil Brooks in this company. We just want guys, our guys. And there's only a limited number of those fans, and you then can't grow the fan base necessarily. And in 10 years, a lot of those smaller indie guys are going to be gone. I'm sorry to say.
And in 10 years, I just think you're going to look back and wish you still had Cody Rhodes and Phil Brooks on your roster.
I think so, but we'll see. In personnel moves, Miro has officially asked for his AEW release. Fightful reporting that the Lucha Brothers have signed. They will be getting new gimmicks, and they will go straight to the main roster. Sheamus has re-signed with WWE, and Steve Corino has re-signed as a producer with NXT. Any of those float your boat, Mr. Novembrino?
I hope that Penta debuts as L Square.
I hope it's LWO1 and LWO2.
I mean, if I'm being a little more serious about Penta and
Hold
Fenix.
on, Viano 11 and Viano 12.
It's kind of hard to take it too seriously at this point. These guys have been kind of on the phone in Express for a hot minute now. But if I was going to use these guys and get them hot again, I would debut them as heels and put them up against the Wyatt Six. It doesn't seem like they want to make the Wyatt Six heels. It seems like they want to use the Wyatt Six as faces. And so having Penta come out there and torment the Wyatt Sixes might actually be something to do with this faction that seemingly has nothing to do.
I would give them a manager. I wouldn't do the whole hook them up with someone of their ethnicity type of a thing. Because they will instantly get lost in the shuffle with the Garzas and Legado del Fantasma and others. I like that idea. I like any idea where, see, it's so weird because luchas are almost dead in the water in American wrestling, and look at Dragon Lee's not doing jack squat. And he's
That's
fantastic.
why. That's also why I'd have them debut as heels. WWE seems to have a lot more ability to get heels over as ass kickers than they do as baby faces. And I think with Penta and Fenix, you need to get them on TV and have them kick people's asses. Like we need arm breaking Penta.
and not be henchmen for somebody else.
Right.
I mean, as much as I look, I love Santos Escobar. But and they'll go, well, maybe he can talk for them. I go, if you talk for them, they become red shirts for Santos Escobar, much like the other tag teams that you've teamed with them a lot of times. Like I think Penta's gonna get over no matter what he does because he has the sports entertainment gimmick down. He'll do the thing with the glove and he'll do Cero Miedo and all that other stuff.
If they gave him the arm break thing back,
yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look at what's happening with Bronson Reed right now. If you gave him the arm break thing back, honestly, building a match between Bronson Reed and Penta would be awesome.
Okay, the problem with giving him the arm break gimmick is the same problem you have in AEW where they never want to beat anybody. They would never want to write people out with broken arms long enough to let that gimmick get over.
No, so he would have to do job guy matches where he's breaking job guys' arms. So and then maybe do like a break like Tozawa's arm or somebody who needs a vacation.
I'm here for Miro going back to WWE if he can, but I don't know where there's room for him necessarily. We have a lot of guys who have taken the Miro slot in various ways. He was
one of the all-time great WrestleMania entrances on the tank.
Yes. Oh, God, yes. In the Cena match, yes.
Yeah.
Problem is, I mean, he was a pandemic cut. Goes to AEW. Gets introduced poorly, in my opinion, as the best man. Redeems himself as the Redeemer, which is a meta gimmick that got over in some ways. He goes back to WWE. He doesn't necessarily have Lana. He won't have anybody doing Rusev Day sing-alongs because Matthew Reinhardt is the color commentator for TNA right now. You have Bronson Reeds, you have Gunther's, you have, large guys, international stars who are doing bad things to people, and those types of heels. You have those in spades in WWE. I don't know.
Getting him back on the roster, the question would be the next step. But getting him back on the roster and building him into a program against Gunther, I think, could be pretty exciting.
I'd go for that. Sure, as babyface.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. He's nostalgic. He's back. Rusev, you have him maybe not be full Rusev again, but like maybe, bring that back. You have the nostalgia, and Gunther basically says you're washed, you were a joke, you ran to another company, all that sort of stuff, and then Rusev kills people. I'm so here for him tossing around what's his name? The little henchman guy.
Oh, Kaiser.
Kaiser, yeah, Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah.
Good, yeah, like
It's interesting you say that because I'm kind of here after watching last night's SmackDown and being absolutely crestfallen that after the great vignettes of Playboy Giovanni Vinci, they jobbed him to Apollo Crews on SmackDown. Have Miro and Vinci be a small guy, big guy tag team and just murder death people. I'd kind of be here for that, but yeah, this will get us into the lazy river. Although we've already kind of there. Whatever we watch, whatever we had time for. Uh,
I watched pretty much everything this week.
I watched a lot, and I wanted to bring up because I think there's a pretty good example of the basically the quote unquote three kinds of promos, even though people won't realize it this week. On SmackDown had two of them, and oddly enough, Dynamite had the other one. You have the exposition promo, which is we're telling a story, but it's not really character interaction in some ways. It may turn into that. And that was Cody and Roman did a filmed vignette in Georgia Tech's football stadium, et cetera, in Atlanta, kind of a hype for the tag match at Bad Blood and stuff like that. And that was a pretty good exposition-y thing. And also on SmackDown was a good character type promo, which was Chelsea Green, quote unquote, training for the dumpster match against Meechin at Bad Blood in full pink, acting like a girl, being an absolute flake. It was great unrepentant stupidity. I kind of, when you get into hardcore matches with those types of characters, I kind of want them to turn on, do a 180 and be badasses, kind of like the women in AEW do when they go from being pretty to just killing each other with barbed wire and stuff. And then, oddly enough, I liked the private party promo, or at least the attempt at it on AEW television. And I'll tell you why. Because it was a fight promo. We got our asses beat last week. I wanna fight you, John Moxley. They weren't doing anything about shots or dancing or being at the club or whatever. They were just coming out there and saying, well, kick your ass. And you used to get those promos because what would happen would be the nicknames and stuff like that weren't the character. They were just labels for the people who would then come out and say, we're going to fight at this place at this time. I don't think very much of you. I'm going to beat your ass in the ring, whatever. And what WWE did was they turned the character promo into being full camp about the character, like for Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, it's not I do everything in the ring perfect. It's I do everything in my life perfect. I can throw a football to myself, etc., etc.
I can shoot the basketball, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Those bits are actually delightful and really funny, but they're also like dumb characterization. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that those promos with Mr. Perfect always added a ton.
But they were just an
it's a
example. Sorry.
No. I was vamping for you. Yeah, it's the fine line between characterization. You went quiet. I was like, wait, because I was also looking ahead. Because there's something else about promos. There's another promo this week that got got on my nerves, and I can't remember which one it is.
Was it the American Made one? Because that one got on my nerves. I'm like, you just got beat by the freaking Wyatt Six, and now it's like, ta-da!
That one was really annoying. I find
the Usos one. I'll list some promos. Maybe I'll jog your memory. The Usos, Jimmy Uso.
I like Jimmy Uso and Damian, the Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley stuff so far. It's not amazing.
The Adam Page promo with Shivani.
The Adam Page promo with Shivani, where he was going to attack Shivani, and then Jarrett came out.
Yeah, the Blackpool Combat Club one at the beginning of Dynamite. The scapegoat one where he's basically doing.
Okay, you know what? The Blackpool Combat one, that wasn't the one that bothered me, but I did find it's still not the one. But Wheeler Yuta needs to have a reaction already to the earlier promo. I don't. It felt like in the first Blackpool, then Wheeler but that wasn't the thing either.
Right.
Uh,
No, I mean it was a poor week for most promos. I thought.
it was Tony D'Angelo. Okay, you know what
Okay.
it was?
Oh,
The
you want Tony
D-
D'Angelo?
the Tony D'Angelo theater. Jeez, we have not experienced acting and character and stuff this bad since the Rey Mysterio family theater.
Okay.
Like, it's terrible. This Obafemi thing, stupid. He 1 week he's a babyface mafia don. Then another week he's a heel mafia don. He gets into a feud with Charlie Dempsey over the heritage act Drew Gulak, but then wanted money for doing it. The good of the locker room. And then we get into this whole thing with Obafemi, and he's scared to fight Obafemi, so he runs away from Hammerstone. I don't care about this guy anymore.
Oddly enough, the one with the last vignette with Adriana Rizzo was decent for wrestling melodrama, but
Rizzo's character just stinks.
she's terrible. It's a terrible character.
I don't think she's a terrible actress. I actually think she manages to stay within this garbage character pretty well, and it's kind of impressive that she can like just live in Adriana Rizzo land. Yeah, but it is a terrible one-note, one-dimensional character, and everyone in this family is one-dimensional.
I would really love to tell you that it was some high concept trolling of CM Punk to do a beat for beat story recreation of Rocky 3. But I can't. And also, I know that the Performance Center likes Tony D, but he is a murdering gangster doing a babyface redemption arc. I can't get there quite yet because Obafemi's not a heel necessarily.
Right. He never does anything bad. He is cocky. He is dominant. He is amused by his dominance, but it's not like he walked into D'Angelo's Italian restaurant and sent Luca and Stax to the hospital.
He didn't come into the restaurant and go, I'm going to sleep with your woman. like Clubber Lang did in Rocky 3. He's just a big monstrous dude. And it's like, it's okay for Tony to show ass if he's a baby face and he's like, I don't know how I can overcome this. And then he overcomes it. But also, do we want Tony D to take the North American title off of Obafemi necessarily?
Right. Why would I be rooting for this guy when the whole episode begins with him going up to Hammerstone and being mad that Hammerstone didn't defeat Obafemi?
I had a city council candidate at my door, and I'm just like, no.
So, like, you have Hammerstone, who did the work last week for Tony D'Angelo in softening up Obafemi, and then D'Angelo's mad that Hammerstone didn't defeat Obafemi. And when Hammerstone won't go and have another match against Obafemi to soften up Obafemi more, presumably for D'Angelo, then and only then does D'Angelo challenge Hammerstone to a match, which he goes out and then gets scared in and runs off from. What is babyface about this, Jeffrey?
The rest of the mob
And this is just 1 week of Tony D'Angelo characterization.
The rest of the mob has to take him out now. He's shown himself to be a weak leader. The Capos have to cap him for not showing strong leadership. They can't have his back. What are you doing? Now wartime consiglieres and stuff like that. We need. Our leader is scared.
We got to go and cheer up Tony.
Yeah.
I hate the idea that he's a mafia don with a heart of gold when he isn't a mafia don with a heart of gold. They don't even do the characterization of that well. It would be one thing if nearly every episode D'Angelo did some sort of favor for somebody big or small, and mostly was just doing favors because he was kind of a chill dude, but every so often showed, the teeth. But he doesn't even do that. He just sort of herky jerky shifts, mood to mood,
Well,
drifting with the wind here.
that and there's also I mean, they so want this to be like Tony Soprano in some ways, and it's let's give him mommy issues too, and just just bury him that way. But you could at least also do the criminal with the code of conduct type of thing, where it's like, okay, I'm a mafia don, but I don't hurt these types of people, or something to that effect. But he's never shown that to be a true, no killing or something like that. If he's a no kill, oh, that'd be stupid. Hey, he's a mafia don who doesn't kill people, that kind of thing. And there's a certain sense of honor.
Be interesting, right? Like maybe he comes out and makes saves on people who are like trying to injure other competitors.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily because he cares about that competitor. He just thinks it's not right to take away people's earning power. You know what I mean? Something like that. Yeah, like, that goes too far or whatever.
I'm dishonorable out of the ring, but in the ring, this ring is sacred.
You settle your problems outside of the ring.
Yes. Yeah, settle your personal problems outside the ring. But as long as there's a wrestling match, damn it. You're Tim Horner. We do this by the book here.
There's a decorum to this sport, damn it.
Doesn't anybody have any respect for the rules? He becomes Walter Sobchak of professional wrestling. Over the line.
They've gotten way too friggin' clever with this Tony D'Angelo thing. And he should have, if he's going to be, boobity bobbity mob boss, then he just needs to be whacking people, throwing them in trunks. He, acquires the gold, and he does. Him and his guys occasionally do hits on the mid card.
No, I was thinking he's a mob boss, but his product is candy. And
Yo, hey, Rizzo walks in. Yo, Tony, where are the school books for the school children? I wanted to go and bring them down to the orphanage.
Hey, I found me a box of Sour Patch Kids that done fell off a truck somewhere. They go to the Novembrino residence, yo.
Let's go down to the park, Tony, and let's cook all those people down there some hot dogs and hamburgers. How about that?
They become like the stone cutters, but they're the mafia. But they do all the civic engagement. It's all the things that they said, like other nefarious organizations use. Hey, we can't go whack that guy because we got the park. we got the children's
that. We
park
have Saturday at the
on
park.
Saturday. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go out there and we're going to clean up this median. I don't want to see any plastic bags, no debris, no cigarette butts out there. This street's going to be clean.
Hey, I got an idea for our next project. Soup kitchen. We's gonna feed the homeless.
Al Capone actually did run a soup kitchen.
Huh.
Yeah. No, Al Capone actually did run a soup kitchen. It was part of his charm offensive.
Was it part of tax evasion to get charitable giving?
No, apparently also his soup was actually good too, by all accounts. Like the actual recipes and stuff for the Al Capone soup kitchen were good. He made good soup.
Al Capone's cream of cheddar.
No, it's like a tomato soup.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. I was just thinking of the marketing possibilities. Well, you look that up.
Yeah.
An absolutely sublime match on Raw was at Io Sky Bianca Belair. I thought that was a pretty. You're gonna show the people.
No, take a look at that.
This minestrone, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's like you got a little bit of meat in there. I mean,
okay. That's not. That's more of a stew.
Yeah,
it's
a beef stew guy. Yeah, right. Yeah, you got onion, garlic, mint, parsley, rosemary, thyme. Like it's not like a schlub stew.
So really, he opened a stew kitchen. Got
Yeah. Right, right.
it.
But I'm just saying, like Tony
I got it.
D'Angelo, if you're gonna have Tony D'Angelo be the mob boss with the heart of gold, there's literally like actual historical examples of this
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's true. I liked Io Bianca, and I like I like the Braun and Bronson for what it was. I mean, that was
Okay, not Braun and Bronson, Braun and Braun Strowman.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Braun Strowman can't move. That man is barely mobile at this point.
No, that's true.
I want to be able to enjoy Braun Strowman, but like he's got great Khali levels of mobility at this point.
He is in latter stage Big Show mode
Yeah,
in some ways, and they still want him to do that running around the ring thing.
that looks terrible.
Yes.
That if they could get a lot more mileage out of him if they'd stop exposing him with the running around
He's
thing.
not the guy from 10 years ago.
No,
Stop
no,
giving.
he's broken
Well, this
down.
is what people remember. It's like, no, so what? Stop it. Did you see Io and Bianca, by the way?
Io and Bianca? Io and Bianca was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a clean finish, and she was shocked. And it's like, there's no, I mean, it's a good babyface versus babyface feud, and I'm digging it. I'm gonna really like that tag match. When you know, Jade is gonna be, everybody's gonna be looking at Jade, but Jade in the past few matches hasn't been the one breaking down. She's been fine. It's other people have been kind of screwing up around her there. But yeah, I was excited about that. I thought
Kyrie's been more of the X factor in matches in recent weeks.
she's been. I mean, like you looked at that eye that she had and stuff like. I mean, she's been getting potatoed left and right by some people. So I think it started to affect her a bit. For your like the tornado match on Friday was not as good, and that was kind of unfortunate with Stratton and Nia versus Naomi and Bailey, which I expected a little bit more out of it, but it was decent. Your turn, wherever you want to go.
Okay. What else happened on Raw here? Kind of over the Sheamus and Butch thing. It was nice to get Pete Dunne back, but now he just sort of feels stuck.
He
and then
feels like he's in between the two worlds because he's so heavily involved in NXT as a producer now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And like he's involved as a producer, but he's not necessarily Ben Angles either, which is, or like, I mean, he is, but he has to carry Trick Williams. Speaking of other people who I think are lost in the shuffle, the hell are we doing with Javon Evans? This is not my favorite guy in the world. I don't necessarily see it as much as other people do. I get that he's very athletic, but like there's a lot of things missing with this guy that the athleticism you can't athletic your way past incoherent promos. You can't athletic your way past bad facial expressions that like hurt your ability to emotionally attach to the guy. But putting this guy time and again in situations where he's just going to lose, with the next one being Randy Orton's going to RKO him, what is the point of this?
You can't have Randy Orton beat him. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how much offense Javon Evans gets against him.
No, everyone's going to remember him getting RKO'd.
Everybody's going to remember the superb athletic flying RKO. It happened to Evan Bourne. It happened to Ricochet. I think it happened to Logan Paul at one time.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen
Logan
to
Paul had a really good like athletic RKO.
It happened to Seth Rollins. Randy Orton doesn't need another fantastic looking highlight reel RKO for his memoirs. He doesn't. Javon Evans needs a win. He needs a win against a guy that's has some heft, as opposed to say Cedric Alexander.
But if you're going to have Javon Evans beat Randy Orton, you need to build.
I agree.
I mean, I might eat my words next week on the show if Javon Evans and Randy Orton is the start of a feud. That'd be interesting. Okay, cool. We get to some sort of non-finish. Maybe Javon Evans wins by countout over Randy Orton, and that pisses Randy Orton off, and now we have a real feud on our hands. Okay, then I'll eat some crow. But I am very worried that we are just cruising to Javon Evans taking a bouncy RKO.
I want someone to actual. Oh, sorry, my My mom.
All right. So the other thing.
All good.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You don't need me to vamp.
No, I don't need to vamp. I need to turn off my phone. Is what I need to do.
Oh, okay.
Uh, uh, the BCC angle promo, the entire thing. You talked about the Wheeler Yuta thing. Yes. They don't have their timeline correct because you had BCC taped last week saying, be there next week for our 6-man defense. And it was played on the week that was supposed to be the 6-man defense as opposed to next week. You have Christian commenting on Moxley and Renee being a couple. Meanwhile, Moxley is walking all around with Marina Shafir, and nobody seems to have questions about it. And I just want to know what the damn point of turning on Bryan Danielson was. And we still haven't gotten there yet. And it's not really a mystery that's building. It's just we felt like your attitude was wrong, so we turned on you.
Right. You're the champion now. So this is just what normally happens with factions. So we're turning on you.
And we're bringing up William Regal again. And it's like, why are we remembering when things were better in AEW? You know, the whole Young Bucks airing the CM Punk footage was the dumbest thing they ever did. And now we're reminding you, oh yeah, William Regal didn't want to work here anymore. He just wanted a paycheck so he could go back.
Yeah.
I want some story. I mean, and then look, I didn't like Moxley's promo to the private party guy where he's like, you've been here 5 years and you're still in the same place. You need to word that more in the kayfabe world. Like, you've been here 5 years and you're still a loser, as opposed to basically implying you're a loser, even though you haven't been pushed or whatever. And private party are situational heel babyface team. Nobody cares that you injure private party's hand. They'd care if you injured Wheeler Yuta's hand. They'd care if you injured Daniel Garcia's hand, somebody a little bit higher on the card. But nobody's gonna care if you beat up Top Flight.
Well, and then like, where is Wheeler Yuta? Well, I guess, did he just leave? Was he leaving the building? That's right. That's the setup for his.
Oh, you remember he had that promo where he's so out of sorts that he forgot his wrestling boots, and he's leaving. He doesn't forget how to wrestle once he's in the ring, but he seems to be leaving his gear all over the place. Like, oh, I'm so despondent right now. I left my belt in the locker room. And I left my
here's
boots
the thing: that would have been totally fine the first week, but like several weeks into this angle, it's stupid.
Yes, we've all gone to work with crap on our mind,
and we've all had that moment. But like, that's, the week of the breakup. Maybe you forget to close the refrigerator door before you go to work. But 3 weeks after the breakup, you should not still be leaving the refrigerator door open accidentally. That's a memory issue.
If he's
now
saying,
you have cognitive function issues.
If he's saying his heart is not in wrestling because they all turned, the BCC broke up like that, then he should do the Tony D thing, go to the ring, decide he doesn't want to wrestle, and count it out. That would be the move. But they don't like doing countouts.
that would actually, I mean, they don't like doing countouts, but that would actually be the start of a very fun little angle where like Yuta just like doesn't want to do the matches, so like he gets counted out, so they remain champions, but not because Yuta's trying to help them.
Our 1-loss record is fantastic.
No,
actually,
they're
the champs.
They'd be the champs with one of the worst win-losses records of all time.
Yeah.
Losing constantly, but still champion.
Your go, sir.
I mean, they should do that with at least one person. I'll actually, but they should do this with.
They could have done that with Jack Perry. They could have done that with Daniel Garcia.
Okay, if everyone's gonna have an effing belt on this show, let's do a gimmick like that. Jack Perry shouldn't be trying to honestly defend his title. He should just be obsessed with the notion of hanging on to it.
Yes, Christian would be good for that. Yeah, you got a bunch of MJF would have been fantastic doing that kind of thing, just getting the cheap heat of taking a powder when he just doesn't feel like he can win. I mean, you have guys who can do that. It would drive the sickos crazy, but yeah.
I would rather say, but then I also think that the sickos, don't understand that wrestling is meant to be a multi-course meal, and all they want is the steak or the meat portion of the meal, not realizing that having a really there's a reason why really good restaurants don't just serve you a nice steak on a plate with nothing else. Everything else actually makes the experience better.
And you
The
got the
steak is
steak.
better because of the green beans. It's better because of the salad. It's better because of the rolls.
Yeah, and they got the steak with the main event this week, which eventually got there. I mean, God knows you had to sit through a Jericho match to start, which should have been a TV main event on another show because they've been building it for multiple weeks.
Oh my God, dude. Jericho's singles matches are
Plotting.
plotting. He's not applying himself at all to the match calling. This is not merely, oh, he's not athletic anymore. The dude just doesn't want to do shit in the ring. He wants to kind of get to point, but it's not a methodical Christian match where Christian is doing one thing, taking his time, getting to the next thing. This is just indulgent.
Yeah, a bit. And my joke was, who does he get elevated to next? Because he lost, so obviously he has a bigger program to go to next.
Right. No joke. Just ask Action Andretti
Yeah, I just yeah.
if you can find him.
But I mean, that 6 man to get back to that. Like I'm actually looking forward to the Bucks versus Fletcher and Osprey as a match.
I agree.
But I mean, the ending to me is fairly obvious at the end. Fletcher's turning on him either after the loss or, sometime during the match. But it was just weird. It's also weird because Callis, like, they're kind of baby faces except Takeshita. Callis doesn't really manage anymore unless there's a point where he has to go down and give a screwdriver. But he's putting over the Bucks on commentary, and you're like, what are you doing? Put over your guys instead.
Well, I think that's foreshadowing. I think he is
really?
going to. I think he's ultimately going to align himself with the Bucks.
So the elite in general, and just leave his loser Callis family.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if it's. No, I don't think Fletcher turns on him. Maybe Takeshita does, but I think it's Callis who actually turns his back on all them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't hate that. The Callis thing's been wearing on a bit long. The Osprey and Callis dynamic doesn't really actually make a lot of sense when you think about it. You kind of just have to roll past it. My other big observation this week is I found myself enjoying this Young Bucks match, and I found myself enjoying Young Bucks matches more in recent vintage. And I was trying to think about why it is. Mm-hmm. And I actually went back and watched some older stuff from 2016. It's just that they've slowed down. It's literally that they're older now. They can't move as fast, and it honestly makes for a better match.
The things they do mean more than just doing them.
Yes, they have, in some cases, still really innovative moves and even new moves that they weren't doing, 10 years ago. But everything's done a little bit slower, so you can actually process it. And yeah, it doesn't have that thing that used to happen when they were, like the Hardy Boys, like the early version Hardy Boys, Young Bucks, where everything was just chaos.
Yes, it was the Spot Fest party match type stuff that they do. I got nothing else. Do you?
I don't. I mean, I still don't see it with Trick Williams, since I don't see a point in going back to Trick Williams. They should have done Pete Dunne versus Ethan Page.
Yeah, he's not. There's nothing there other than whoop that trick and having kind of a weird presence. It's
right. If he didn't have the name Trick and he didn't have whoop that trick,
if he was Bob Williams,
so like Ryan Williams, with a nickname, maybe not Ryan, Dirk Williams or something, something a little more in wrestling namey, but if he was like The Edge, Dirk Williams, there's no way he could get himself over with that name.
Right. He's a chant. He's charismatic, but he's charismatic only on one note to me. I
Yeah.
like him still. It's not that he's bad or anything. It's just there's no depth there.
You know what I found myself thinking about too this week is if Trick Williams didn't remind me of my dear friend back in Dallas, E, would I like him at all? Because I think what he's getting by on with me right now is he reminds me of my friend E, who I'm nostalgic for. So I've got a nostalgic pop for my friend, but I don't know that I even like Trick Williams.
I You know what? The best he was in that Noam Dar feud involving Lash Legend.
Right.
That had some emotional connections to Trick Williams in some ways because he
That felt like he was a guy, like
yes.
this is a guy who, okay, I'm a champion, but also I'm a man, and like romance does kind of speak to me a little bit. I kind of got to say go for Last Legend. Like,
he needs to start reading books in the NXT break room.
oh, just like what's his? Yeah, Book
Yes.
Boy. Yeah. Good old Book Boy. Book Boy who got his ass kicked this week.
Yeah.
They kicked Mr.
Stop reading the
Gaslight.
books and hit the gym.
Yeah. Stop hitting the gaslight and start hitting the gas.
Hey, that's a good place to end it. I am Crap Game 13 on X. He is DOCTOR_NOV on Instagram. You can just follow the show on X at Shake Them Ropes. We are part of the Voices Wrestling Podcasting Network. I do a show on Fight Game Media on Wednesdays, about 20 minutes after Dynamite goes off the air. It's called The Dynamite Show. It's very creative. Myself and Paul Fontaine on YouTube Live. It drops in podcatchers for free on the Fight Game Media audio podcasting feed. Chris does music on Spotify. He's going to plug all his projects now.
Yes, please go and check out some of my groovy tunes. You can see my Spotify. Go and look up Chris Novembrino. I'm there. However, also wanted to plug my colleague or my old friend back in Dallas, single she put out this week, Spinning Off Its Axis. I am not only the producer as listed on there, but I, in fact, did write all of the music for that and co-wrote the hook. Very proud of that song. Do a bitchin' little guitar solo there midway through. So go and check that out. Priscilla Nichols, Spinning Off Its Axis is the name of that song. Let's get the plays up this week, people.
And we will see you next week.